Good afternoon, welcome again to Endovascular TV. We are here now with George Hamilton, is our president today, is our president for the Society of Vascular Surgery, and we want to have his opinion as an expert and also as member of a representative board of vascular surgeons in the world, as the European vascular surgeons. First of all, I'd like to thank you for being here with us this evening. And I'd like to talk about the future. I'd like to have your opinion in what's next, what's going to be in the vascular therapy in the near future.
Yeah. So I think the key thing is that actually there should be no differentiation between vascular surgery and endovascular surgery. So endovascular therapy is vascular surgery. It's the evolution of vascular surgery, and the methodology is going to be that. There are going to be lots of advances to do with materials, that stents are made from, balloons, the methodologies. I believe that there need to be a lot of advances in endovascular treatment of aneurysms. The technology is fairly advanced, but it's still really quite complex, unnecessarily so. It's not reliable in the long term. And I think there are lots of advances in terms of making these technologies more intuitive, easier for the surgeon to use, easier for the patient to tolerate percutaneous therapy rather than open. And so, I think there will be big improvements there, and we'll be able to treat sicker and older patients, which is the big challenge because our patients are getting sicker and older. In terms of what I said earlier about the two, endovascular surgery being part of vascular surgery, I think the big challenge actually for the future isn't going to be endovascular surgery, but it's going to be who does the vascular surgery, because there will still be a percentage of patients who are going to need open surgery. Oh. And with the expertise and the pendulum swinging permanently to endovascular surgery, how are we going to have people who are going to deliver the smaller number of open procedures, and particularly complex procedures like open thoracoabdominal aneurysm repair, treatment of congenital disease. So that's going to be, for me, that's the big challenge.
For the future. And let's talk about now about some challenge for today. Which are the challenge today, in your opinion, the vascular therapy?
In terms of conditions?
In terms of philosophical conditions, economicals, everything. Which are the main concerns, the main limitations we are facing now, 2013, in vascular therapy? Yeah.
So obviously there are financial limitations. So as these technologies are developed, they're very expensive. And so the companies have to recoup their expenses. And so there are financial limitations. So many countries are experiencing this. So for example, in the UK, which is a developed Western country, we've got a healthcare system which is very controlled and socialized. And there's a strict control on the purse strings. And we've had a system whereby if we want to have a complex repair of a thoracic aneurysm, for example, that we have to apply for each individual patient to get funding. So funding is a big issue, because I think the healthcare systems will recognize that more and more of these patients are going to be treatable using these endovascular means, but actually it's going to be very expensive. Whereas previously open surgery was quite cheap, relatively cheap, but it was the cost of the surgeon, which is still there, cost of the anaesthetist, the operating room, those are all there, those are established. A few sutures, which cost £60 each, a graft, which maybe costs £400, whereas if you're doing the same operation endovascular, you're looking at 10, 15, 20, £25,000. So there is a limitation. Equally with the advance of angioplasty, with drug-eluting stents, drug-eluting balloons, all of these are expensive, and treating more and more patients with lower limb disease. I think the financial thing is going to be the biggest challenge for all of us. And if it's a challenge for a country like the United Kingdom, it will be a bigger challenge for countries like those in the Eastern Europe, where vascular surgery is well developed, has a proud tradition, but the financial systems are unlikely to accommodate it.
Okay. I would like to have also, and this is very important for us, have the opinion of the president of the Society of Vascular Surgery, talking about the societies, which role they will have in, not today, because today I think we all know about that, But what's going to be the future? With the evolve, with the be involved in different approaches to support to promote the therapy? What's your opinion? You have a privilege position to show us
Yeah.
the future.
So the European Society, if we talk about that, its remit is actually to raise standards, maintain standards, and standards in teaching, in education, in data analysis, data registries, and making sure that the standards are of the highest quality. The difficulty is in dealing with 35 European countries, and that's one of the big problems. And they don't even fall within the remit of the European community, and being a Brit, I'm very skeptical about the European community as it exists in its present form.
Yeah.
So these big societies like the European Society are going to be very important because it's the umbrella organization that can help the national societies, because the national societies are the most important for each country, but the European Society should be there to help in the overarching way. So I think the European Society is very important in setting these standards across Europe and making sure that we have the same standards across Europe and within the national societies as well. In America, which is one country, but it's 50 states,
Yeah.
so that's like 50 countries, and that's evolved in the same way. You've got the Society for Vascular Surgery, which is the overarching umbrella society, and then you have all the other societies, the Eastern, the North, the New England, the Western, etc., etc. So it's exactly comparable to that. And then increasingly there's an international awareness. So the international awareness is involving the American Society, the European Society, the Australasian societies, etc. So there is a role to be played across nations and across the world in maintaining standards, and I see that as the prime role.
So you think that this will be something like a network between societies to develop in the new future, to do a common ground to
Yes.
promote vascular therapy?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I think it's very important because there's a risk that with all the therapies that are coming along, which are very interesting, what we don't want happening as has happened in North America, where the cardiologists have just come in and taken these therapies and run with them and doing them. And we want to make sure that they're properly done. We've got to protect our patients. That's the prime thing.
Okay. Well, I'd like to have your opinion also, and something not so huge, something smaller. This Congress, our Congress, City Congress. How do you feel about this Congress?
Well, it's my first visit to this country, this Congress, and I've been very impressed by the quality, by the standards which have been set. It's actually very well organized, much better organized than the majority of societies. It's got a definite thrust to it, which is the advancement of endovascular treatments. The way it's been organized in terms of getting speakers, simultaneous translation. This is another problem, actually, that the European Society is grappling with, and that is that English is now the international language.
Yes, it is.
And the difficulty is that not everyone has a good grasp of English, and so we need to make sure that the language problem doesn't exist. And many meetings now don't even have translation, which I think is actually very important. It's very expensive, but it's very important. I've been impressed by that. And also the organization of the meeting right down to the requirement for abstracts, for the CD with the abstracts in it, the structured questioning at the end of each session. So I think it's a very well organized meeting. I'm very impressed.
I would like to thank you again for have this thought and share these thoughts also about the society. That's very important for us, and to spend this couple minutes with us to make some clarify situations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My privilege. Thank you.
Thank you very much.